This is the fourth video in my ongoing series about deities I have a personal relationship with. You can find the others in the playlist below this video. Of course, I aim to include lots of factual material, but I'm trying to resist my tendency to list all the things I know about a deity. So I've tried to concentrate on a few basics, plus some areas where I see misunderstandings cropping up. That way I can leave some time for the personal stuff and a devotional at the end. If you want to know more about Modron than you find in this video, you might like my annual Mabon, Modron and Maponos class, or there are a couple of older videos here on my channel. I'm always learning, so this video probably has the most up-to-date and accurate information, but the others are good too and cover some different things. Modron, the figure we know from Welsh literature, is considered to be cognate with the Gaulish Matrona, goddess of the River Marne. I'm not going to say a lot about Matrona here, but I want to mention something which often causes confusion. It's caused me confusion in the past. The relationship between Matrona and the River Marne and Modron of Britain is a linguistic one, which is more than the two names just being built on the root word for mother. So I'm not a linguist, so I'm not going to go into too much detail with this. Matrona is not the Gaulish word for mother, any more than Modron is the Welsh word for mother, even though these names have mother at their root. It has a meaning closer to mother goddess or great mother, and following the expected sound changes that linguists tell us about from Roman-era Gaul to medieval Wales, Matrona would turn into Modron, which has the same meaning of divine mother, and is used to denote a particular figure in Welsh literature. That seems straightforward enough, but people get confused because there are many inscriptions in Gaul and Britain to the Matres and the Matronae, mother goddesses usually depicted in a triple form. The names sound a lot like Matrona's name, but let's just say that from the standpoint of academic caution, we shouldn't assume a relationship between these goddesses and Matrona and Modron, especially if the inscription is in Latin, which they often are. The Latin word matrona refers to a respectable Roman wife. This is quite a minefield. As far as we know, there's only one inscription to the goddess Matrona, and that's right at the source of the River Marne. So just don't make the assumption that you can simplify Modron as a generic mother goddess or as a goddess who has a triple form. So enough about that for now. Modron appears in a few places in Welsh literature. In the epic tale Culhwch and Olwen, she is the mother of Mabon ap Modron, Mabon, son of Modron. When the giant Ysbyddaden makes his demands on the hero Culhwch, he tells him that he must find Mabon to assist in a boar hunt, but that Mabon is missing and hasn't been seen since he was taken from his mother Modron when he was 3 nights old. And this motif is repeated many times. Has anyone seen Mabon, son of Modron, who was taken from his mother when he was 3 nights old? Taking a child from between its mother and the wall suggests that he was taken by stealth or by magic, but we never learn the full story. After a long search, Mabon is found, but there's no further mention of Modron in the story, no happy reunion. In an unrelated story, we learn how Modron appears to Urien, the king of Rheged, at a ford. Urien goes to the ford to investigate some barking dogs who appear to be upset by something no one can see. When he arrives, the barking stops and Urien sees a woman washing. The text doesn't tell us whether she's washing bloody clothes or armor, as we sometimes find mysterious women doing in other stories, or whether she might be washing herself, as the Morrigan's doing when she meets the Dagda in the River Unshin in the Second Battle of Moituera. We'll have to embrace the mystery. Urien seizes her, according to the language of the text, and has sex with her. And because of the way it's worded, then people think this is a rape, but I disagree, because the first thing Modron does is thank Urien and not curse him. She says a curious thing: I was fated to wash here until I got a son by a Christian. This seems odd in the context of an otherwise pagan-seeming story, but here are a couple of thoughts. The word Christian was sometimes used to describe a mortal, as opposed to someone perceived to be of a fairy race, like Modron might be. In other words, someone who's not immortal. Or it could refer to many of the Britons of Irian's time having already been converted to Christianity, as opposed to their enemies, the Angles, who had not been converted. So it might mean something like, until I got a son by a noble Briton, but we'll never know for sure. Modron then goes on to tell Irian that she is the daughter of the king of Anuvan, that is the other world, and that he should return in a year when she'll give him his son. When he returns, she presents him with twins, his son Owain and his daughter Morvith. This story is corroborated in a Welsh triad about the genealogy of Irian and his kin, which calls Modron the daughter of a Vathach. And suddenly we find ourselves in another small minefield. A Vathach means apple orchard, or having to do with apples maybe. Kind of an odd name for a king of Anuvan, but not impossible. Apple trees are certainly associated with the other world. A Vathach seems to have a similar meaning maybe to the Irish Awen-Avlach, an otherworldly realm often placed on the Isle of Man, which means something like Temple of Apples or Place of Apples. A Vathach is probably also the inspiration for Geoffrey of Monmouth's Avalon, which became an important idea in later Arthurian literature. But Awen-Avlach and Avalon are places, not people. So does Modron, the daughter of the king of Anuvan, have a father called Apple Orchard? Rachel Bromwich and some others believe that there may have been a medieval misunderstanding which arose from this triad, and that we should understand daughter of a Vathach in the sense of daughter of the other world, and that a Vathach is a place. If this is correct, then it fostered a huge misunderstanding in which a Vathach ended up in Welsh genealogies as a Vathach son of Beli and took on a life of his own as an Anuvian king like Arawn or Gwyn ap Nudd. Or maybe Rachel Bromwich is wrong, I'm not sure. This was just full disclosure. At any rate, the encounter with Irian feels like the remnants of a sovereignty tale, in which the local goddess mates with the lord or future lord of the area, thereby confirming his right to hold the land. I was interested in Mabon before I really got interested in Modron herself. But I'm also very interested in Irian of Rheged. Irian was a real historical person, but he lived so long ago that what we know of him is more legend than history, and the legend of his encounter with Modron always fascinated me. That drew me in further, and Mabon and Modron's association with rivers also feels very meaningful. As well as the river in the legend involving Irian and Matrona of the Marne, Modron was probably associated with other rivers too at one time. Now, I've always liked rivers. I often think of places where I live in terms of where the rivers are, at least if I love the place and I know it well. I grew up in the valley of the Arkansas River in Colorado, and I can picture and name all of its tributaries in that region. Where I live now, unfortunately, I have a bit of a river problem. I live too close to the local Clatskanie River for comfort. Every winter, I live in terror of my home being flooded, but I can't figure out how to afford to move. So every time I survive another high tide on the Columbia, I do give thanks to Modron for keeping me safe. And yes, I know that's not a complete solution. And I also know I'm not the only person in that kind of situation. I'm also fascinated by the sovereignty aspect of the Irian story, which brings me to Rhiannon, the sovereignty goddess of Dyfed in the Mabinogi. A lot of Welsh scholars feel that Rhiannon and her son Pryderi, who are major figures in the Mabinogi, are reflexes of Modron and Mabon. I feel like there's some truth in this, and I think it has altered my perception of Rhiannon, whom I've had a devotional relationship longer than I have with Modron. I've learned not to get too hung up on trying to dissect things like that. Sometimes I get new insights, sometimes I take a wrong turn, But it's okay. You can't ever fully understand deities anyway. I'm not the sort of woman who gets much identification out of mother goddesses. I had very bad luck with mothers, and I never wanted to be one. So the sovereignty aspect and the river aspects of Modron probably interest me more. But the motif of the separation of mothers and sons is a strong one in Welsh literature. I wonder whether some of this stems from the old Celtic practice of fosterage. So noblewomen in particular rarely raised their own children. They were fostered out to other families and didn't return home until they were of age, maybe around 15 years old. At that point, they might be quickly married off or go to war. Mabon is stolen from Modron. Pryderi is stolen from Rhiannon. He's then named Guri by his foster parents. He's then separated from his foster mother, something we often overlook, and returned to his parents, who immediately foster him out again. Gwion Bach, who becomes Taliesin, is twice separated, first from his own mother, then from Ceridwen when she gives birth to him a second time. Peredur leaves his mother to become a knight, the very thing she wanted to prevent happening. Perhaps this recurring theme is there because it was an emotional scar that people carried, both mothers and sons. I'm going to start off our devotional with a poem and then a prayer. If you'd like to get more comfortable or light a candle or something like that, pause the video now, do what you need to do. Mabon, stolen son, I had you hidden, tried to shield you, curried you close, slept near the wall. Mabon, divine son, godly child of mine, savoring your scent, my arms empty, I woke alone. Pryderi, my duty, my destiny, worry and woe, I was blooded for you, saddled for you. Guri, my treasure, gift of the night, twin-born mystery, mare-birthed miracle, golden foal. Thrice-born boy, thrice-mothered, with the gift of a colt, I will send you safe into the world. Pryderi, my son, you reached for fool's gold in a fortress of folly. In mare's guise I watched with you, in waits and worry, awaiting the rescue of Manawyddan. Maponos, my son, lightning on water, son of the river, spring of the healer, god of the wall. Owain, my son, forged at the ford, mortal begotten, prince of ravens, Saxon slain. Peredur, my son, I hid you from harm, from fortune's questing, you followed fame. Mabon, divine son, godly child of mine, through prison and exile, in river and spring, we shape the world. We shape the world. We shape the world. Picture a river you love, or a river of your imagination. See how the sunlight dances on the water. Feel the river's sinuous strength, her strong, serpent-like currents running deep beneath the surface. This is Modron. Modron is the current of life, the giver of life and the giver of sovereignty. She is timeless and patient like the river. Her will be done. She is other. Her will is not our will. Her agenda is not our agenda. She is as strong as she is beautiful, long-lasting, enduring. Modron, daughter of the king of Anuvin, I honor you. Modron of the sparkling river, I honor you. You who bestow sovereignty, who give heirs to kings and quench the thirst of the land, I honor you. May your water be healthy and respected, so that you may bless us in return. May your rivers run free and strong. May your sovereignty be everlasting. May your waters heal us. Modron of the sparkling river, I honor you. Modron, I honor you. Modron.